Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Israel Connection. I'm Esti Zenati, and my guest today is Jared Firestone. He is a Winter Olympian for Israel and a licensed attorney, known in the sliding world as the Jewish Jet. Originally a standout track and field sprinter at Tulane University, Jared successfully transitioned his explosive speed to the ice, becoming the first Israeli to win a gold medal in an Olympic discipline sliding event. After a decade of relentless training and balancing a legal career in Florida and New York, he reached the pinnacle of the sport by competing in the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. Beyond the track, Jared is a co-founder of the Advancing Jewish Athletics, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering the next generation of Jewish sports stars. Jared, thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's go to the beginning where it all started for you with skeleton. In 2014, you were recovering from a mini stroke, right, TIA, and you first discovered skeleton. What made you, what drew you to that sport and made you think that this is what I want to do?
Yeah, so really, it wasn't so much skeleton, or just the idea of what skeleton could provide for me as far as furthering the mission I had, and that mission was to be an ambassador and somebody that could inspire Jewish people around the world, especially Jewish kids, to be proudly Jewish and pursue their dreams. Definitely didn't need to be skeleton, doesn't even need to be sports, but just the concept of being a proud Zionist and using that to make your life better.
Okay. And because, people think about recovering from an injury or from something, and this is not something they would go for the first thing, because it seems like, I watched you at the Olympics, and it seemed like the toughest thing. I don't know how you guys do it, but it's so difficult to just slide like this.
Yeah, it's not the easiest. Definitely when you have a traumatic event like a mini stroke, the doctor's not going to say go do skeleton immediately. Yeah. So it's an interesting path. I guess I always like to try things that were a little different, and just at the time when I saw it on TV, it was very appealing to me because of the track background, being able to sprint at the beginning. But then I've always been into solving puzzles, and what better way to solve a puzzle than 80 miles an hour head first, and really paying for your mistakes. But the gratification from doing it right, that feeling was so addicting. That's what got me in the sport.
So you were, as we mentioned before, you were a sprinter at Tulane, 100-meter and 200-meter sprinter. How much of your success in the push start of skeleton is pure muscle memory from your track days, and what was the hardest technical habit to break?
Yeah, so definitely running bent over, totally different than running upright. And thinking about you're pushing a sled, you're not just running as fast as you can. You have 32 kilos of something you're holding on to press in front of you. So it was a big adjustment. Definitely, there is a lot of carryover. It gives you that base to have potential. But I go back, I was just watching videos from my first year sliding, and it's almost embarrassing how slow I was pushing. It doesn't translate right away. It's definitely a specific skill. There's a lot of guys who push a lot faster than me that I would beat upright sprinting, and vice versa. So it's a skill, an art form in itself, pushing a sled.
How do you even begin to learn it? Because it seems very complicated as far as I can tell.
Yeah, so learning sliding in general, the way they do it is they work you up the track. So you'll start from halfway without a running start. Somebody will just put you on the sled and let go of you, release you, and you'll hit about 40 miles an hour that first one, and then you move up a couple of curves, and you're gaining speed each time. And then eventually you make it to the top. Again, you're just let off, then you're jogging, running, and then eventually you're sprinting and hitting top speed. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like when I watched you, it was like a very, very dangerous slide, playground slide, like the big ones, or like the water park ones that you slide, like the big. It felt very crazy like that, but times 100.
Yeah, people compare it to a roller coaster. It's just basically a roller coaster without a track. I mean, there is a track, but you're not on a specific.
Yeah, because you can slide to the side at any point.
Time. Right, and a roller coaster where your arms are outside and you're slamming against walls and possibly catching airtime and landing on your side or ending up on your back. So that's where it's a little different. But in terms of the G-forces and just how your head might feel after, a roller coaster is probably the best comparison.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier and previously in different interviews that you wouldn't do this sport if it weren't for a chance to represent Israel.
Right.
How did representing Israel come about, and why is it so important to you to see Israel representation on the ice particularly, or like in any sport?
Right. So I grew up playing golf and tennis, and in 2005, I learned about what happened in Munich in 1972 at the Olympics. And that's when I decided to pick up track because I knew that was a path to becoming an Olympian for me. I was the fastest in my high school from 10th grade on. And that was my goal, to represent Israel, specifically in the Olympics. When I started skeleton, I was in the US program, and I love America, but there's just a different feeling because if it wasn't me in the US team, it would just be the next guy up. We were about the same, and we were just the next athlete to go, and the skill difference was the only differentiator. But for Israel, if it wasn't me doing it, there was nobody to do it, and it made the mission that much more important, and it gave me the opportunity to fulfill my why, which was to be proudly Jewish. I could stick the star right on my helmet and be sliding.
Oh, I love that helmet. Yeah.
Thank you. And be sliding down the ice and doing it in a way that everybody knew exactly who I was and what I was representing.
Did you grow up like that? Like, did your family make it a point to connect you to Israel in any way, or did you visit Israel when you were a kid?
Yeah, definitely a very Zionist household. Probably too much that at some point when I started skeleton, my mom might have regretted it. It wasn't now. It took a couple of years, but she ended up loving it. So yeah, definitely went to Jewish day school, went to Jewish summer camps, did all the things, went to part of a strong Jewish community here in Hollywood, Florida. And that was kind of the basis for me having this desire.
When did you make Aliyah?
In 2019. So I started the sport in 2016. I took my first run, finished law school, took the Florida bar, started sliding school, studied for the New York bar during my first year learning skeleton, and then did 2 more seasons in the US program, made Aliyah after in April 2019, and then I was competing for Israel that fall.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it was a quick process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you competed to make it to the Beijing 2022 Olympics, but you missed it by 3 spots. And usually a lot of athletes, if they nearly miss it like this, they retire. What made you want to continue to do that and continue, practicing for the next Olympics, to decide this, I want to be in the 2026 Olympics no matter what?
It wasn't right away. So I was so close to winning a race that Olympic qualifying season in 2022. There was one race where I was a half second ahead, and I just got really tense, and I lost the lead and ended up in second. And I had 2 second places in the last 2 qualifying races. And I wasn't even thinking about the Olympics. I was thinking how cool it would be to hear Hatikva playing and standing on the podium. So the next season, the year after the Olympics, there's a little less competition, honestly. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I know if there's a race in Lake Placid, I'm going to win it. And so I went to the race in Lake Placid. I won it. I heard that Tikva. That was awesome. The next week, I tore my bicep in the gym preparing for the World Cup race. And that was the end of that season. The next year, I wasn't so sure if I'd continue the sport even. And then October 7th happened. And even though I had no funding at the time, I was still dealing with the recovery from the bicep. And I had a knee tendonitis that showed up. I was just like, I need to be out there. It's so important right now to have a representative out there. Again, if I'm not the one doing it, then nobody's there representing Israel, the Jewish people. And there's so many hundreds of people I come in contact at all these races with, and a chance to either inspire them or even talk to them. And I didn't want to miss that. So again, it wasn't even about the Olympics. It was just like, I need to go to these first races and be representing Israel there. And then once I was back in the system, one thing led to another. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I'm here now. I might as well continue and see this out. We're only 2 years out.
So what were like the mental hurdles that you had to go through to, after the injury, and then eventually deciding that no matter what, like, I'm going to heal and get better and then go back at it and go to the Olympics?
It's just always been my mindset, starting with the mini stroke. In 2020, I had a surgery and it left me with a rhabdomyolysis after 3 days in the ICU, 3 months sitting in a chair in my parents' house, basically not able to walk or do anything on my own. And it just never crossed my mind to quit. It's just what I was dealing with. I found the positives. I reframed it. a lot of people would have been upset they couldn't physically train. I thought it was a great time to spend extra time watching film on skeleton and just thinking about the sport and meditating and working on those skills too, from the chair in the summer. And the same thing with the bicep tear. It was never an option to give up or quit just because of those inconveniences or pain. It's just how I'm built, I guess.
It's amazing. And I saw the video you posted yesterday
Mm-hmm.
with the soundbite from Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And that was so inspiring. And that was, I guess it shows your spirit, and it's amazing. And I wish the Israel government recognized athletes like you more, because I mean, you guys, fundraise by yourself, and to go out there, and the significance of the whole thing for you guys is incredible. And I wish there was more recognition for that.
Yeah. That's part of why it's hard for me to give up ever, when it could have been easy, is because there were so many people who believed in me, and because I was self-funded, I went out and raised the money, and I just always felt a responsibility to them and to the state of Israel, even if the sports department wasn't directly supporting us or giving us the attention I thought we deserved. That would never change my motivation to represent the country as a whole.
Were there any Israeli or Jewish athletes that inspired you to keep going?
So I would read a book by Sean Green, who was the Jewish baseball player in the early 2000s for the Dodgers. And he wrote a book basically about finding calm in high pressure environments where things are happening fast, like getting a 95 mile per hour fastball thrown at you. And I thought it was very relatable to me. And so that was definitely one person that inspired me to find the joy in being present and just enjoying the sport, especially when our sport could be pretty hard sometimes to find that. So he was very inspirational to me as far as Jewish athletes go.
Yeah. So moving forward to this year's Winter Olympics, which as I said, I watched you before. I watched the bobsled team. It was incredible. We have the ice skater and the skier, like everybody were so great. And I felt, as an Israeli, I felt pride just watching you guys put so much into it. And I know how hard you guys worked, and it's been incredible. So you were the flag bearer at the opening ceremony. And then on top of that, of holding the flag, you had a nice kippah with the names of the 11 victims of the 1972 Munich massacre.
Right.
What did it all mean to you, and what was going on through your head during those moments, knowing like the whole world is watching?
Right. So being flag bearer wasn't necessarily something I even thought about, because it's not something that really would be in my control. Could I do things that would make me more likely? The better I was at skeleton, the more expectation for my results, just being somebody who had the personality of being worthy of being the face of the team, walking out. Those were things I could do, but it just, because of all the logistical and not knowing who would be there and everything, it just wasn't on my agenda, really. It ended up being just a very, very pleasant surprise. Once I was named flag bearer, though, I just immediately thought back to my why I was doing this and the platform I wanted to have and what inspired me. And it just seemed very, very natural to want to include the 11 victims and raise awareness on that walk. I don't think the Olympics had done enough to recognize them. I think in the past couple Olympics, they might have had a moment of silence. Before that, nothing. So I wanted to make sure they were recognized, memorialized in the right way.
Did you get any feedback from families of these athletes?
A couple of them reached out to me. One made a video he sent to me, and that was really, really cool. That definitely made it worth it, and it made me really, really happy and inspired.
Oh, I'm sure it touched them, because it's not nobody that people usually don't do that kind of gesture, and it was a beautiful gesture.
Right. I can imagine how they feel if you feel like they're forgotten and not even mentioned at the Olympics where this happened. And the IOC obviously had a lot of responsibility for it. So, to be able to give them that was definitely very, very meaningful to me.
Oh. So you always wear this big Star of David necklace.
Right.
And, show it to the camera. So
okay, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So walking with that, I mean, and I saw your videos walking around, Italy and all that. What does it feel like wearing this around Europe, and especially in countries that have, a big problem of anti-Semitism nowadays, especially?
Yeah, so you definitely notice difference depending where you are. So being somewhere like Cortina, there's so much goodwill there, and even my friends and family who came would have had no problem walking around draped an Israeli flag through the town, and people would stop you. And I had fans from other countries stopping me and asking to take pictures and things like that, which was really, really cool. In Milan, it's a little different vibe, and this applies for all the stops that on tour. Like, say I went to Norway, Oslo would feel a certain way, and Lillehammer would feel a certain way, or Munich would feel a certain way, or Frankfurt, and then Winterberg, the ski town, would feel a different way. It's just how it's set up right now. But even in Milan, when you really go and talk to people and have a chance to interact, you notice they for the most part, everybody's on our side, or a lot of people are. Would I wear it as openly in the subway? It depends who I'm with. If I'm by myself or with another teammate or a guy friend of mine, I will. If I'm with my girlfriend, maybe I won't want to attract that attention in that moment. So you do have to decide when and where and how much to do it in certain places. But overall, I found just being proud will lead to positive outcomes and meeting great people and making awesome connections.
Were there any interactions with athletes from different countries that you were surprised by, or things that kind of where did you all wasn't a good vibe?
I was definitely not surprised by this, but I did do a pin exchange with the girl from Iran who was there for skiing. I don't think she realized who I was. I just kind of caught her off guard, and she did the pin exchange. And then as far as other people, no, very, very positive. So many people wanted Israel pin. A lot of people from USA. One of the bobsled girls, she came up to me and she's like, I really, really need an Israel pin for my mom. She was so excited when I gave her one. So overall positive, definitely interesting for some friends. I posted a picture with the skeleton athlete from Austria, and he reposted it, and he was so shocked to see the messages he got back, including from some people who work in the sport, for example, a physio from the Swiss team. So that's disappointing to see. It's so rare for somebody in sports to feel that way, especially about another athlete. But overall, at least directed to me, everything was positive.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I've seen obviously negative comments online about different things, because that's the state of our world these days.
Nobody said it to my face, but online definitely I was a bit of an anti-Semitic meme at one point. So
I saw the thing you shared yesterday on your story from that Palestine something, like Twitter account or something, that they shared a good picture of you with this.
Great picture. Yeah. All the videos, I'm like, I look really cool doing this. So
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
At least they do that. They choose good pictures.
Right.
That's okay. So skeleton is an incredibly expensive sport, and we've talked about it before. You've been largely self-funded, and relying on crowdfunding. What is the biggest sacrifice you've made that people watching might not know about?
Right. So the costs are very high. This season I spent over $160,000. Most seasons were less just because I had less to spend, and I would generally put 20 to 40 of my own every single season. And then whether my budget was 40 to 60,000 on average, this year a little more because I didn't want to leave anything for regret. So just went all out. But then there's also the opportunity cost. Obviously, my friends who I went to law school with are working as attorneys. And for me, I very, very limited in the amount of time I have to do that. Working for myself, completely haven't had $1 income in 5 months now. So thank God for my sponsors to allow me to be able to live and eat on the road during the season and not have to worry about it till now. So that's definitely been the challenge. But it never, even if I didn't make the Olympics, it never would have crossed my mind that I could have had this much money or been doing these vacations or missing out on certain social events, because it was so worth it for me to have this once in a lifetime opportunity just to represent Israel.
Just so people understand the scope of the whole thing, what do you need to spend money on? Like what does it take for you to become an Olympian?
Okay, so I needed to have a coach, a full-time coach, which I didn't have pretty much the first 6 years of my career, except for one season. So that's $30,000+ for the season. Every time I take a flight, I'm paying $500 in luggage fees plus my flight and my coach's flight. You can imagine what a flight from Utah to Korea costs, right? So that's another 30. And then we have a car in every spot, accommodations. The training's expensive. Every training run is $50. I'm taking 2 to 3 a day. I have a coach in the summer training at a gym here, $70 a day. I'm going in 4 times a week. Physio work, the sled itself, $8,000. The runners, I have 5 of them, $700 each. The speed suit, same thing. So yeah, you could easily, before you know it, you're at $100,000, and there's still so many miscellaneous expenses to go.
Yeah, that's quite a lot, and I think people should. That's why people should support athletes, especially when there's no government funding.
Right. Yeah, and I saw firsthand the amount of impact we can have. I'm just one, and then there's so many of us, and to think that I could have easily missed out on this Olympic opportunity with it came down to $20,000, say, that would have been the difference between having a coach for 5 weeks last season and whatever I learned that couple weeks, I translated to this year. I made the Olympics, and if that didn't happen, then I'm not there. And I saw literally, I don't know how many people watched, but even just the interactions I had personally, thousands, and that would have all been lost.
Yeah. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad that people helped, make it happen for you.
Yeah.
We need representation out there, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So will this Olympic be your last one?
I think so, just because of age a little bit. I'm 35 now. Might want to try some other things in life and at least see what it's like to be a little more of a civilian for a bit. If it could be a full-time job that was similar to a lawyer's salary and plus covering all the expenses, I mean, good luck to me finding somebody to cover all that. You never know, though. But as of this moment, it seems like it'll be my last. It was kind of the perfect way. It's not going to get better than that. It would be awesome to keep representing Israel in that way and inspiring people, but I'm working on finding ways I could do that off the ice as well, too. Yeah,
there are a lot of different ways. I'm sure you can find many of them. So knowing that, keeping that in mind, what did it feel like for you standing on top of the track for the final time in Italy? Like the whole moment, like the last when you finished your race and that was it.
Yeah, the whole day felt like a dream sequence. So I had the first 2 heats were the day before, so I was a little more nervous for that, and it was in the morning, and then I got through that. You kind of know where you're sitting, and it was probably the least amount of pressure I felt for a race in my entire career. I just woke up that morning. I let myself just kind of sink into the nostalgia. I realized everything I was doing, it's the last time having this specific routine. And I was very, very attached to these routines for years. Waking up, listening to my affirmations, wrapping tefillin, looking at my 12 characteristics that I try to embody every day, doing my mobility work. And just to go through knowing it's the last time I'm doing it with this purpose, I might have got a little nostalgic for sure. And then showing up to the track, same thing. I kind of lined it up to have like pretty much everybody that's helped me along the way there that can make it. So I had my teammate, Oren. He just kind of hung out with me while I warmed up and walked me to the line. My coach, Jack, was there waiting for me at the line, just something we've done so many times over the last few years. And then to make it down, to have AJ Edelman, who literally was my first mentor in the sport and spent thousands of hours getting me to that moment without asking anything in return, waiting for me at the finish line. Just so excited for me and being able to kind of release that emotion and energy into him, and then to turn around and have my whole family going crazy in the stands. And then I just ran around once I did the media requirement. I ran around and it was just like a real true celebration once in a lifetime for about an hour. We just kind of hung out in the mud of the track and in the snow, and everybody was just so excited. It's all a blur, but literally I woke up the next day and it's like, I can't believe that happened.
Did it all sink in already, or are you still like in the cloud?
Yeah, it's funny. So I was so hurried to get out of the village. So I finished my race, went back. 3 hours later, I was in a car going to Milan. But then Milan, I thought I would have a little bit of a come down there, but then it was so exciting there. I went to a hockey game that night, and there's people recognizing, all the Canadian American Jews that were at the game were recognizing me, and the whole thing kind of just kept going. And then finally I made it back home a week after that. And definitely the first morning waking up at home in my bed, it felt quiet for the first time in a long time. But then immediately got to work. I had 2 speaking events the first night home, and going to talk to teen groups. And so that became immediately the next thing I was focused on. I need to make sure I do a good job tonight. So it's keeping me busy.
That's amazing. I got to tell you, from my perspective as a viewer, watching you and AJ at the end of your race, hug it out, and like the support that you have for each other, it's beautiful to see. I loved seeing this. And I know both of you, I think that's his last one as well. And it was very inspiring to see this. I got emotional. I kind of cheered on the TV.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's funny because so many people have been telling me about that moment, and for me, it's we haven't had a race where AJ was waiting for me at the end, and I wouldn't be so emotional at the end of a normal race. But to me, it's just me putting on the helmet, which I've done 2,000 times with the star, going down the track, which I've done 1,000 times, and then talking to AJ after my run, which I've also done 1,000 times. But I get to other people who haven't really seen it before. It's this guy going down with the star and his helmet, and it just looks very it's very in your face. And then I get to the bottom, and a guy with a kippah is waiting for me. We're hugging, and so the symbolism wasn't apparent to me actually at first. And then as I started to run into people in Italy, and they were telling me how they felt watching, it was like super, super cool to be able to do something that, like, obviously with putting the kippah on and bringing the Munich victims with me, like I knew it was meant to make people feel a certain way and to remember. But with this, it was just me sliding, and I want my best friend waiting at the end for me. And then to have that have such an effect on people was really, really cool to find out.
Yeah, I think like knowing how much you guys worked for this, like how hard you've worked for years to get to that point, and just seeing you at the end of it, like hug with so much like passion and like emotional, like everything. So I think it has a huge significance for people who've been following you for a while and saw these things. Yeah,
it was more than I thought it would feel like. Like I knew he'd be waiting for me, but I do all this visualization, but it never like, yeah, I didn't think about what after. And then part of that hug, it was the release of the 10 years we did it, like finally letting it out. Because even once I qualified, it's always like, what's the next thing I need to do? What's the next thing? We never quite had that moment together. Even when I qualified, he still had a race the next day. So we never truly got to experience it. And then, then part of that hug also is like, what's next? Like, what's the journey we're going on next? And sort of like a last moment to just be in that in-between space between celebrating what just happened and then preparing for what's next. And then, once we let go of the hug, it became about what's next. Yeah.
So moving past the Olympics, you co-founded the nonprofit Advancing Jewish Athletes to help other Jewish athletes. So now that you've reached the Olympic summit, what is the first barrier to entry that you want to tear down for the next Jewish kid, particularly from Israel, who wants to be in the Winter Olympics?
Right. So, like we've been talking about, funding's the first barrier. When I think of what it would be like to have a conversation with somebody I was trying to recruit to do skeleton or bobsled, the thing that is most likely going to give them pause isn't the potential for crashes and injuries and the time away and the training. A lot of people say no to that, but the main filter is when I say what the cost is. So that's the first thing we need to address to make that barrier of entry come down, or at least be lowered significantly. And then from there, we move on to support and creating a network where the athletes could work together, find ways to collaborate in training and in fundraising. But the first order of business is to get some funding to some people.
Do you think in Israeli sport there's a future for skeleton and bobsled that we just saw represented for the first time? Because in Israel, our winters, if you call it a winter.
Yeah, I think there is. Like, of course, we're more likely to pull from the U.S. or Canada on that specifically, but We do plan on having 2 bobsled pilots who are native-born Israelis who are just starting to learn. They were 2 guys in AJ's sled and brakeman, and now they're going to learn how to drive a sled. So that'll be super cool. That problem will address itself with them, hopefully.
Yeah, the first Drew's athlete also.
Right, and Ward if he continues. So we'll see. We would like to have Sabras, native-born Israelis, doing some of these sports where accessible, and it's not too far from Europe for them to get to. For somebody who's willing and able to do that, it probably it is a bit of a foreign concept. So they're also, besides the money, there's an element of kind of guiding someone through that logistically. For me personally, it's obviously would be super cool as a legacy to have more skeleton in the Olympics. But if it's between skeleton and another sport where Israel's not already represented, I'm fine with either. It's just about making sure there's somebody in as many sports as possible. It doesn't necessarily need to be skeleton.
Yeah, I think it's important that we have representation in whichever field, as long as we're there.
Exactly. And I'd rather have one person in 10 sports than 10 people in one sport. Because it's just, it just expands that network of ambassadors.
Yeah, especially now that people are trying to kick us out of everything.
Right. Yeah. So we got to have at least one foot in all the doors. So.
Yeah, I mean, we see it now with the Eurovision. You know, it's been going on for a few years now that they've been trying to kick us out, and we keep participating, and we get, high spots, at the end.
Right. Doing well.
They still want to kick us out. So, to me, like, if you want to retire because we're there, retire. It's fine. We're going to be there. We're not going anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll keep coming and keep winning. And they can just keep hating and losing.
So before we go, I want to ask you, like, looking ahead 10 to 15 years from now, when people reminisce about your Jewish jet era and consider your complete contributions to the Israeli skeleton and sports in general, what is the legacy that you aspire to leave?
I want to be remembered as somebody that did break the barriers in the less typical sports, to have created an ecosystem where any Jewish athlete or Israeli athlete could see something and be like, I want Israel to be there, be a part of that, and then feel like they could do it, and not just feel like it, but then come back and there is actually an infrastructure to make that happen, which there's so many great infrastructures of support in the Jewish community for various things, and many of them are very, very important. But sports is also important, and that infrastructure is not there yet. So I want to be known along with AJ as the 2 guys who sort of created that foundation for growing Jewish and Israeli sport.
What is your message to Israeli kids who aspire to be Olympian athletes?
Anything is possible. Sometimes you need to be a little creative, put yourself in some very, very uncomfortable positions, like sliding down an ice chute at 80 miles an hour. But if you feel strong enough about why you're doing something, then it will never, never, ever feel like a burden.
Jared, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Esti. Appreciate it.
And I hope that whatever you do next, we're going to know all about it.
That's the goal. Thank you.
Where can people follow you so they can see what you're doing next?
It's on Instagram. It's just my name, Jared Firestone with an underscore. JewishJet.com is my website, and advancingjewishathletics.org to keep track of what we're doing with the nonprofit.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jared. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.